Hey guys, what's going on? Captain323 here. We're back today because it's warm and we're working on the Westy. As you can see, I've done a lot since the last time I turned the camera on. I've put in a new rear bar. I started fabbing the tin work. The gray stuff is not glue, that's seam sealant to stop the air leaks. And I've started fabbing the tin for there, and I'm about to do it over on this side. But right now, I've put the Westy up on stands, or ramps rather, not stands. And we're going to take a look underneath, just see what we see, and hopefully figure out where the heck the exhaust is leaking, because it has an exhaust leak and it's really bothering me. So we're going to take a look and see if I can fix the exhaust leak. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, well, we're lying underneath the bus now, and I thought I'd point out a couple items of note. I sort of need 5 hands to hold the camera and the flashlight and, like, point at stuff. So I'm going to just try to, like, hold the flashlight and the camera with the same hand really quick and point a couple things out to you guys. So, first thing I noticed, ever since I got the bus, the heat has been pretty anemic. I mean, it's not exactly fantastic in an air-cooled anyway, but it's been anemic even by air-cooled standards. And I noticed up here, I can do this, this lever, right, on the heater box, it moves, but where's the cable? The cable's right here, and it actually moves when I move the lever in the cab, but as you can see, it just popped off, so that's why the heat isn't working, because the little bolt must have unscrewed itself from the end, and it just fell off. So I have to reconnect that. The one on the left side, it's still connected and everything, and it works. The heat blows through the left side just fine, or I mean the right side. Left to me, but this is the left side. Other things I've noticed: whoever replaced the fuel lines last, which wasn't terribly long ago, didn't do a great job of it, I have to admit. So you can see they did not use the correct clamps, they just used hose clamps, which aren't the worst thing in the world. They won't, you know, blow up your bus like braided fuel lines or something will, but it's not great. You should really be using the, like, you know, the non-crimping style clamps. And I noticed that they like, I don't know if they did do this intentionally, but this was not clipped into the little things that hold the fuel lines in place. I'm still going to be replacing all of these fuel lines with Gates barricade hose, because I don't know if this is ethanol rated. I'm guessing it is, because it was done fairly recently, but so if I can get my flashlight to work. Oh my goodness. Suddenly a cat. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So I'm going to replace these fuel lines with Gates barricade fuel lines that are rated for ethanol use. I don't know if these fuel lines were replaced with ethanol rated fuel line. I'm thinking they probably were, because I think they were replaced pretty recently. I have to look at the maintenance history. I think they were replaced about, I don't know, like 3 years ago or something. There's my fuel pump that I put in. I still have yet to bolt the bracket back down. I need to do that so the fuel pump does not fall out. As well as I replaced this fuel filter and this connecting line right here with new stuff, but everything else is just how I got the bus. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting, if I can, like, reposition myself under here, this transmission, I thought it was just really dirty, which, I mean, it is when I first got under here, but this transmission is actually painted black, which I've never seen before. At least looking on the internet and things like that, I've never seen a black bell housing and transmission. So I'm wondering if maybe at some point this bus got a remanufactured transmission. I know it got a rebuilt engine like 10,000 miles ago. Fuck off, cat. Fuck off. Don't chew up the tires. It got a rebuilt engine 5,000 miles ago, right before the previous owner stopped driving it when he got hit in the rear. But I don't know if they did anything to the transmission. I'll have to call the local air-cooled shop that he had the engine rebuilt at and see if they did anything to the transmission, because that'd be nice if they rebuilt the transmission. The little actuator on this side is actually still functioning. It still works. Just zoom in on that. You can see it's still connected, and when I pull the handle in the cab, it moves that. I will be putting some like rust prevention grease all over that because I do not want that one to break as well. That would suck. Various other things. There's the starter motor, obviously. I did find the exhaust leak. It's actually right here, which is the most inconvenient place possible for an exhaust leak, by far. You can see there's a little hole, like right there, in between these two pieces. I think the gasket, like, rusted out or something. And as a result, it's just started leaking there, which is very unfortunate because I don't think I'm going to be able to get this exhaust off. So I'm going to have to try to repair it while it's like this, which, I mean, I'm thinking it's doable. It's certainly not going to be either easy or fun. You can see the exhaust is, I mean, it's all there, but it's not in the greatest of shape. I mean, this bus was daily driven, so all winter, so you can see there's some pinholes in the muffler back here. I welded the muffler up there, etc., etc. So I'm going to get out from under this thing, because I just bashed my head again, and we'll see what I can do about this. Well, it's definitely been a minute since the last little installment I made, mostly due to the fact that it's been raining and raining and raining and raining, so I haven't had a chance to really do much work. That being said, as you can see, I finished the rear bar install. I did film it, and I then lost the footage. So, hooray for my terrible video skills. However, especially for me, for somebody who has never done bodywork before, honestly, it looks great. Yes, I'm well aware there's a massive dent here. Am I going to fix it? No. I'm just going to leave it alone because I'm really terrible at filling dents. And it does not bother me. You can't see it once the bumper's on, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And I mean, plus, look at the rest of the bus. Today, on the agenda, I'm going to be making this, right here, look a little bit more like that, or trying to. So, time to put the patch panel on the other side and maybe start a little bit on that rocker. That rocker is a lot worse than this rocker was. This rocker basically had one hole in it. That rocker has like 3 to 5 slightly larger holes. Hopefully I don't have to go buy a whole Bus Depot rocker. Hopefully I can kind of scab that one back together again. But we're going to see. Before we do anything, though, I got to pull this out of the garage and turn it around. So, because, I mean, how am I going to work there? So, I figure we'll start it up. I haven't started it up in 3-ish weeks. So, not bad for no mirrors, eh? Alright, let's get to work. So you can kind of see what I was talking about when I said it was a little bit worse on the side, but it's just a little bit worse. It's not, like, awful. You can see this is pretty bad. It's not quite as rusted out as it was on the other side. And luckily, just like the other side, it stops right about here. And it does not go all the way through. You can see this is still all solid in there. Just put some POR 15 on it. What I was talking about of the rocker being a little bit worse was right here. You can see this piece. There's a rust hole right here. There's a big one right here because you can see as soon as I start to like clean all this stuff off, it's gonna blow out. There's a small one there, a little pinhole there, a couple little pinholes down there. But if we look underneath here, this is all super solid. There's nothing on the inside of the rocker or on the pressing like spot weld line down here. So I figure we can probably just cut all this out and just weld some patches in like you did on the other side, and it'll be fine, providing I cut this open and like suck all of the garbage out of there like I did on the other side with the vacuum cleaner, and spray some rust neutralizer or rust converter or POR 15 or something in there. When it comes to this, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it right about here all the way across. Make sure the camera's in focus. Right here all the way across, and just peel all of this off just like I did with the other side, then cut it all back down to here, and then clean up the whole inside of here, first with a wire brush and then with POR 15 to neutralize all the rust. I may cut it all the way to this body line, or I might cut it just like here. Probably cut it all the way to the body line actually, and then just re-weld right to the inside of that body line there. But yeah, let's get out the zip wheel and start cutting off the rust. Rust. So, this is what happens to the inside of a Volkswagen bus. I was able to pull a bit of the original factory seam sealer out, and it was actually still doing its job. You can see that's all still sealed up in there, and no water was getting in. But a lot of this is pretty rotted. It's not irreparable by any stretch of the imagination, and luckily it's not rusted through anywhere. You can see it's still super solid on the inside of the rocker. And one thing to note, the reason that these things rust out, this right here, make sure I'm getting a real good shot of that. That right there, this hole, this is not a rust hole. That is actually where the pieces of sheet metal were joined together from the factory. That's just a huge hole right there. You see that? So what happens is the wheel's spinning like this, and it's throwing salt water all over the inside of here, which just makes its way right into this little gap here. And I mean through these holes, you know, here and here as well. And this entire area, it just fills with water and salt. And that's why, I mean, you look at the rest of the bus, and I mean, this is all fine. It's super solid. But right here, you see on all of these bay window buses, this right here is rusted out. And that's why. It's because they just didn't seal it up well enough, in my opinion. Now, I mean, who am I to judge? And this thing's, you know, like 40 years old. But still, I think if they'd sealed this up a little bit better, you wouldn't be dealing with all this. Because, like, see all this stuff that I'm pulling out of here? It is rust, but it's also just a lot of dirt. Like, the dirt gets up in there, and it just holds water, and it just holds, you know, filth, and that rots it out. So I have to clean this all out really well, and we'll put a bunch of POR 15 on there, and just neutralize all of that rust. Another day to work on the Westy. So, last time I started cutting rust out of the rocker. A couple days went by, started to scab something in over there, just decided it was too far gone and it needed to be replaced. So, called up Bus Depot and picked myself up one of these. Not exactly what I wanted. Ideally, I wanted to just buy that lower section, which they sell at Wolfsburg West, but Wolfsburg West was out of stock, and I want to get this done sooner than later. So I bought this, super nice, Just Campers. It's made in the UK, very, very high quality, way more high quality than the rest of the stuff I'm putting on the bus, because the rest of the stuff I'm putting on the bus is just this stuff, which is essentially like Danish tinfoil. But I figure, well, we'll do something like that, right? But just snip that off right at the bottom there with an angle grinder and get to work. And basically what I'm going to do is, you see I started to weld this on, and it looks terrible, obviously, because the surface that I'm trying to weld to is, you know, it's just rust. There's not enough seal there to really do anything worthwhile. So I'm going to cut all of this out, cut all of this weld and all this rusted crap out of there, and we'll start squaring this guy up to weld it in. Anyway, stay tuned. Okay, so I've cut off all of this steel up here, and I'm about to start taking off this piece as well, because you can see it's just broken. And I cut down here, I cut all of these spot welds off. So in order to flatten those out a bit, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a ball peen hammer. This one's pretty, like, destroyed. I don't use it for much actual hammering anymore. And just put it back here, and then I'm going to get another like, claw hammer and just go like this a bunch of times. In order to just, like, flatten this out. And you can see how well that works. It's really pretty incredible how efficient that is just with the two hammers. Amazing, actually. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing that and waiting for the PR-15 that I ordered in the mail to arrive. Okay, so a bit of time has gone by, and I've started fabbing up this piece, this Just Campers rocker panel. I cut it off from the long wall section that they provided you with, and I ground it down a little bit. I still have to do some trimming at the ends because it's a little too long. They make it that way intentionally. But overall, I'm very happy with this piece. This is a really, really nice pressing. Fit is really good right out of the box. Like, see if I can do this with one hand. It's kind of hard. But, I don't know if you can see. Trust me when I say the fit is very good. And the steel quality is excellent compared to that Danish trash over there. This stuff is fantastic. I practically burned up my angle grinder cutting it. It was so high carbon and so nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim each end and get it nice and lined up, and then start welding it on. Alright, so it's been a little bit more time. Look at that. It's all welded and ground. I'm going to go eat some lunch. And then we're going to start working on here, hopefully get that in, get that welded and ground, and maybe we can even get on to doing a little bit of Bondo today. That'd be fantastic. Okay, so the last time I turned the camera on, it was 1:30 p.m. Now it's about 7:30 p.m. And I'm pretty much done for the day. So I wanted to sort of go over everything I've done on this side and just kind of give you a general idea of what I've done so far. And this is going to be the end of this episode. I've got to edit this stuff and post it. I installed this new Just Campers rocker. This was a wonderful piece to install. Great sheet steel quality, like the gauge was very good. Fantastic pressing. I didn't have to bend it or do anything to get it to fit. It just fit perfectly. It had weld-through primer on it. I was able to weld it. No booger welds, no crap. It welded up fantastically. And it looks great. This, on the other hand, this piece of tin foil from Denmark was an absolute bitch to install. I don't know if you can see right here and right there, how it looks like crap? Well, that's because when I welded it, the terrible, like, tinfoil thick sheet steel, it just started rippling from the heat. I have my welder on literally the second to lowest voltage setting, and I was just spot welding it. I was not running full beads, just spot welding. And it completely deformed, and I spent the last 3 hours filling it in, grinding it down, filling it in, grinding it down, trying to even out that weld. That being said, it looks okay. The panel gap and everything, the lineup is alright. My one biggest complaint with those Wolfsburg West pieces, though, this curve, like this, is slightly different. And I always have to weld it and then keep bending it up in order to form it to the correct curve. And it's not perfect. It's good enough, in my opinion, but it's not, like, flawless. This thing is fantastic, though. I'm super impressed with the Just Campers pieces. If I ever restore another one of these things, which I kind of think I'm going to, I'm definitely going to buy from Just Campers, because basically that piece down there, with shipping and everything, was like $140. But you spend more money, but you spend so much less time screwing with it, trying to get it to look good. I think that was like $12. That Wolfsburg West Clocker Home thing was like $12. And okay, it was $12, but I just spent the last like 4.5 hours messing with it. So I think it's kind of a trade-off. And as I've said in previous episodes of this, I'm not a Bondo hides all sins kind of person. I think Bondo's going to hide like a little bit of sins on this, just saying. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to edit this and upload it now. So until next time, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next part.